Good morning. Moralconservative.com is my blog site, and I want to put this on the Facebook page I have by the same name, Moral Conservative. I couldn't sleep last night. I, between worrying about if our church folks are ever going to decide to come back to church, we've been going to church. We've only shut down, I think, 3 or 4 weeks to this whole situation. But between wondering about that and worried about what's going on in the political realm, I won't say worrying, but very concerned. I was doing a lot of praying last night, middle of the night. Woke up at 2, and I finally got up about 3:30 or so, 4 o'clock, and I was looking at Twitter, and I kid you not, I couldn't believe this was a real story. So what I did, I went to townhall.com, www.townhall.com. And there's a story on here. It's entitled, and it caught my mind. I was thumbing through Twitter, and as I was thumbing through, I kind of rolled through this, and I went past it. I went, wait a minute, and I rolled back up. The title of this story is Seattle Protestors, quote, quote, Seattle Protestors have new demands, and they're going to court to make it happen. Now, this is the same bunch that's trying to destroy the courthouse, if I'm not mistaken, in Seattle. Police departments, anything that belongs to the man, the white supremacist and the government, they're trying to destroy. So anyway, there's a picture, and if you go to Town Hall, there's this beautiful picture of this dude with a bullhorn and his finger in the air, and he's got this bullhorn, and he's got his little bandana mask on, and he's saying something to bullhorn. Anyway, let me read some of this to you. I find this interesting. Black Lives Matter protesters in Seattle took their wokeness to a new level on Monday when they filed a lawsuit against the city of Seattle, demanding the city provide them with, quote, expensive protective gear. Now, these are protesters. These are people that are trying to destroy the city. They are trying to burn the city down. They're throwing bricks, rocks, defund the police, no authority, get out. Now they want the city of Seattle to provide them with expensive protective gear. According to the Seattle Times, equipment includes, this is what they want, quote, helmets, gas mask, protective clothing, goggles, gloves, boots, umbrellas, and other gear they say are needed to fend off pepper spray and less lethal projectiles and other crowd dispersal tools. I kid you not, they are suing the city government to protect them against the police, which they want to defund. Obviously, they don't want the police involved. Okay. The protesters cited the Seattle Police Department as, quote, shooting toxic substances in the air, deploying projectiles at departing protesters, and tossing blast balls into close areas of protesters marching as the reason the city should pay for protesters' protective equipment. Man, this is hard to read. There's a lot of tongue twisters in there. 2 more short paragraphs. The argument is that protective equipment necessary to protest safely is so expensive the city should bear the cost. The plaintiffs said not having access to the equipment, particularly because they aren't in a position to afford it. Notice they say that twice. We can't afford it. We can't afford it. We need help with this. So they're going to the government that they are protesting against, because Antifa and Black Lives Matter want to really make this into a socialist country. So you got to pay me to protest against you, because it's only fair that I'm safely protesting against you with all the protection, because you are the mean, bad people that shoot tear gas at us while we're trying to destroy the very, government that keeps us all safe. The plaintiffs have not said not having access to the equipment, particularly because they aren't in a position to afford it, prohibits them from practicing their First Amendment rights. So protesters are supposed to be peaceful in America. You know, we say, oh, you have a right to protest. Well, I guess you do, as long as it's peaceful. You know, when you start tearing up things, you're not a protester anymore. You are a rioter. And rioters need to be put in jail. Did you hear me? Rioters need to be put in jail. There should be a 5-year mandatory sentence for anybody that riots and anybody that breaks into a store and anybody that steals anything. And that's what I think. So we got to protect their First Amendment rights by paying them to protest. Of course, we know SARS is paying them. They're getting paid. But they want to be paid to wear protective gear because they don't have the money. Well, if they wasn't protesting and working at a job, maybe they could buy their own gear. Novel idea. Their noxious gas, blast balls, chemical sprays, and projectile weapons rendered public street. Oh, this is written weird. It's not even written right. Rendered public street welded by the community as a protest path into a war zone. The lawsuit stated, because protesters now must purchase expensive equipment to be assured that they will be able to protest safely, the indiscriminate use of weapons by Seattle Police Department implicates equal protection. Whoever wrote this really didn't do a very good job of writing it, but I'm reading it as it was written. So there you go. Maybe they came from, Seattle University or Washington State University. I don't know. Anyway. And it goes on to another section, and basically it says that their goal is to have a judge order the city to stop using certain weapons to control and suppress demonstrations. And whoa. You got to pay us to protect us while you're shooting at us. And the whole idea of shooting at them with this gas and stuff is get them to leave. So it's counterproductive to the police or the government. Anyway. But their whole goal is to pay for the cost associated with filing it. So not only are they going to file this in the city of Seattle where they're trying to destroy the buildings, but they want you to pay for their equipment, and they also want to pay them for filing the lawsuit against yourself. Yeah, sounds reasonable to me. You guys have a good day.